came in. It's really sad. Really sad.
Was this morning, then it went off the news feed.
Right, there we go. You in the room. I can remove that. Right. So, I've got a portrait sketched. I'm not going to say who it is. Hello, Rosemary. The YouTube link is on our stories. If you go onto our Facebook stories, that's where we put the YouTube link. Because we do it live on Facebook. If I put links on Facebook, it'll confuse people. And as we're trying to monetize Facebook, we have to also do live videos on Facebook occasionally as well. So it's not like they want much from us. Morning, Wendy. A monsoon in Sheffield. Well, you know, I think this wet weather is nationwide. So I'll just tell you about the paper. Obviously, I'm on my own in the shop, so if I do get any customers, which is highly unlikely on a day like today, but you never know. The paper I'm using is this lovely stuff. It's Sea White of Brighton, so it's British-made paper. It's eco because it's recycled watercolour paper, and it has 25% cotton in it. So it's a cotton and wood pulp paper. It's a knot finish, so if you watch the reels on that, knot is not rough and not smooth, so it's got a tooth to it, and it's 300 GSM. But what's really nice is that you get 15 sheets for less than £8-9. For part cotton rag, that's a really good price. It is good paper, isn't it? Morning. Who am I missing? Morning, Jill. Morning, Judy.
But if you're just having
Morning, Mandy.
mess around and you don't want to spend loads just to see if you like doing it,
Yeah.
use an ordinary.
Just ordinary watercolour paper. So because you're adding water, you're going to need a heavier weight paper.
Okay.
But what's really interesting is that different types of paper are made to hold ink and others aren't.
Okay.
So if you think of printer paper, that's made to hold ink.
Yeah.
So if you tried on printer paper, you're going to get nothing when you wet it. So we were just chatting before we went live. Yeah, if Facebook might be problematic. Anything could be problematic if we've got storms on the way, because you know, the internet is dodgy at the best of time. So the pen I'm using is a Blue Acorn fine liner. It doesn't say it's water soluble, but it doesn't say it's permanent. So generally, if it's not suitable, like this is not suitable, it will say water and fade proof pigment ink or permanent ink. So that is a no-go.
Okay.
That won't do anything. That's just a black permanent liner pen. But if you've got the old school Beryl handwriting pens are fine. I think the Pilot handwriting pens, the VO5, not VO5? V5 VO5 is hairspray. Yeah, V5 is okay. Hello, Carol. Hi, Mary.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure I've got some of those Beryl things. At home.
Yeah,
The
so
green ones,
you got the WM stationery, which are yellow. Any school pen is going to be water soluble, and they're really ideal. I think these Blue Acorn pens are less than £2, and they're black. But what's really cool about black water soluble pens is that when they're wet, they can go in any colour. Sometimes they go green, sometimes they go purple.
And is that dependent on the make, or is it just
Well,
on how much water you use?
it's about how much water you use, and it depends on the batch as well as the make. Because I can buy these because I love them, but we've been working out, because we do a water soluble pen class. Rosemary can back me up on this, on once a month on a Monday evening. I think the 4th Monday of the month is water soluble pen, and when you use more ink, it goes purple, and when you use less ink and more water, it's got a green tinge. Because when you think black ink isn't real, it's made up of lots of other pigments. So as it's made up of lots of other pigments, when you wet it, what's that called when you do it at school with a Smartie on blotting paper, and then the sciencey thing? Oh, thank you for the stars, Susan. Morning, Trish. Yeah, it's a really fun thing. What is it called? You put a Smartie on some wet blotting paper, and then you watch the colours, and then each colour that's composed of it in different lengths seeps out. Anyway, so I sketched my portrait. I'm on watercolour paper. We don't wet it until the end. So I might not get around to doing all of this in 45 minutes, because, you know, it's 45 minutes.
Have you done it again, Barry? Set yourself to...
Story of my life, Sue.
Absolutely.
Story of my life. I think, oh, do you know what? That'll be really good for a demo. And I forget I've actually got to do it in the time. Monday mornings is the same when I'm at Wardington, because that's a 45-minute demo. Because I know they've got 2 hours. And I think, oh, that's good for their 2 hours, forgetting that I've only got 45 minutes.
Sit down, yeah.
So I'm trying to be a little bit sparey. The thing to remember as well, depending on your paper, chromatology or something like Suzanne, yes, I think it is. Yes, absolutely. Depending on your paper, you may not get rid of the pen lines, but that doesn't mean that it won't spread. The thing that you have to remember is that if you put the pen onto damp paper, you will not be able to blend the pen. Something about the dampness of the paper stops the pen from being able to spread. Exactly the same with, because you can do this in watercolour pencils.
Yeah.
So if you've got a black watercolour pencil,
Is there a time like you've got to...
no.
No. So you can
No.
do that and then...
Yeah, you
wet
can.
it a bit later,
Yeah,
it
you
still
can
works.
do it as a sketch. So if you were out and about on holiday or something, you could do this, and then go back to your hotel or your tent. Hopefully, it's not got a leak, because everything would
Hold it
become
up.
like this. Yeah, yeah. And then you can add the water later. So it's a really I find it timeless. The only thing to remember is that these are known as water soluble pens are fugitive. They are not light fast.
Oh, okay.
So I've done some beautiful pen and wash or water soluble pen drawings over the years, and I've had them on the wall in the shop and the skylight just over literally 6 to 12 months.
Really?
Yeah. They're really not light fast.
Is
So
there anything you can do to make them?
no.
Nothing.
No, I mean, if you were going to display it you could frame it in ultraviolet reflective glass. That will slow the process, but not totally. What I would suggest, if you did a pen and wash that you really, really loved, photograph it and get prints done of it, and then keep the original in a folder in a dark cupboard somewhere. Otherwise, yeah, it's tricky.
I wonder if a photographic fix would work.
It may work a little, but I think due to how water soluble it is, it doesn't matter in books, because the books are closed, isn't it? When you're handwriting, the ink very rarely sees daylight. But if it's in a light room, like in a conservatory or something, you'll be lucky to get a year out of it. There are a few things like that you have to be aware of. We had we have watercolour sets of watercolour dyes in, and they're so punchy and vibrant, they're gorgeous, but we didn't realise that they're not light fast. And Jackie did that beautiful abstract in the top, and that's faded. I mean, that was so punchy, it was beautiful. Oh, Ira, that's sad. You could switch over to our YouTube channel. If you go to the link in our stories, that might be a better link, but because of the weather today, anything could happen. Oh, that's good, Rosemary said, because the Monday evening class is water-based media. So 1 week we do watercolor pencils, another week we do gouache, another week we do watercolor pencils, and another week we do pen and wash. So or water soluble pen. So we do all sorts of things in here. So I'm kind of just outlining the face, and you really do have to think about where you want everything to go and how much ink you want to add. It will always look a bit more illustrative because, well, it's just pen, isn't it? And I think there's nothing wrong with illustrative. I like illustrative. I had a lovely troll on my Instagram page the other day, on my art reception, on my art Instagram page. Very skillful trolling in saying wonderful comments negatively, but dressing it up
Yeah.
positively. They said something like, "You're one of the few artists I know that paints and draws all sorts of things. You can do badgers, portraits, gouache, you know, toadstools, buildings. Most artists will stick to one thing and get good at that, but you haven't. You haven't fallen down that trap." And I had to read it twice to realise that. And I just read and I commented and I said, "Oh, thank you. I just like creating." But how funny.
Yeah.
And then they commented on another one of a building and they said it's really good how you haven't got any straight lines so it doesn't look like a photograph.
Is there a word for that? How?
And Diana said passive aggression.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is. Yeah, you see, I don't care. But I found it hilarious and I thought, do you know what? I like that. Power to you, because it's funny. But that's because I was in a good mood. Had I not been in a good mood, I may not have found it funny.
Meant it like that. They might really have meant it. Tried to, you know.
Trying to be kind.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, people don't realise that words can hurt. Or they do realise, and they do it anyway. So I'm doing little diagonal strokes. Where I want it concentrated, I'm doing lines closer together. And I'm really having to look at this. I'm using a reference photo, but I will apologise. I'm not putting the reference photo on the screen because it's not. I haven't got the copyright, so I'm just doing a portrait. Well, I've just lost my top. Black top on a dark carpet. I'll find it later. It'll be fine. I'll probably use all of the pen up anyway today in this. There's a lot of stuff going on. So where you have to plan in advance, and that's where it can get a little bit tricky, because where you want a higher concentration of dark, you need to have more ink.
Yeah, once you put it on, you can't really do anything about it.
No. And when we add the water, the other thing that you have to plan for is that if you go straight into the dark, everything will just be dark, so you'll lose your light. So you've really, really got to think about how it's done. We did a lovely waterfall, didn't we, the other week, Rosemary? I've got your Facebook comments on a spare old phone. Good morning, Sharon. So I'm flitting from looking at YouTube. I nearly bought my other old phone, my emergency phone, to stream live on Instagram. And I thought that'd be quite cool. But we're a couple of hundred followers away from being able to go live on TikTok. So I might do that. When I do that on a Saturday, I might do YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. We'll multi-stream.
These pens, are they in different colours?
You can buy them in different colours. Well, not this make, but there is a brand. And I haven't got my set here knocking about to hand. With being off sick this week and everything, I'm not really with it, to be honest. But there's the they're called Tri-Plus colour liners. And they look almost like that. I think you've got a set. They're all water soluble.
Okay.
So you can do some wonderful things with these.
Maybe that's what I could do this afternoon instead of going to live.
I know, I feel so sad 'cause we've got Art in the Park in Leamington, which is not that far away from here, to be fair. And
Tomorrow, Sue.
No,
yeah.
I'm working tomorrow, so it's the only day I could go.
Oh, it's so sad. It is.
Hey-ho.
Missing the dancing this afternoon. It's just too wet.
I wouldn't like to be an artist in a market stall in this weather. I really
Giant
wouldn't.
marquee of Church Hall, but it said in
Oh, Jenny, stop with the flattery. More, give me more. She says it's fascinating to watch me. I'm so talented.
That's encouraging.
Oh, Jenny, I'm so glad you came today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So glad you came and joined us today, Jenny.
I'm still trying to work out who it is. I'm just,
Well, it might end up not looking like who it is, so another reason I'm not saying.
Is it an actor or a
I think he has done some acting in the past, but he's not known for his acting.
If it was King Charles, Liz will be.
Yeah, it's not King Charles. It's not a British person, but he's got a different face, and this is as he got older. But it's oh, do you know what? I think from what I heard on Classic FM coming in this morning, I think this is everywhere. But it does. I think she's. It's a bit better this evening.
I think the southwest has got really bad wind.
Yeah, I'm glad I haven't got bad wind today. Not after being ill on last week. How much am I paying Jenny? I haven't paid her a penny. I promise. So what's interesting with a liner pen is you cannot control the amount of ink in the way because it just flows constantly for writing. But if you angle it so the pen's not face down, it's more on its side, and you use faster motion, you can get softer lines rather than really hard lines. So I'm trying to follow the contours of the face a little bit. So this could end up being who you want it to be.
Is the light of the photograph coming from one side? Because all the light seems to be on one side.
Yes.
And the shading other.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Steve's photograph was the light coming in one direction.
The light is all coming from the left with really strong shadows on the one side. So yeah, it is. It's all coming from the light is this side. So I'm just going to darken the top of the eye there, of the iris, so I can get really, if I wanted to, I can go really, really dark, and I'd cross hatch. So it's the same as any pen technique and pencil, yeah. Where you want it really dark, you can over exaggerate your darker lines. I know it is very oppressive, the weather at the moment. It's not good for headaches or anything, but I'm still suffering from hay fever and in amongst it all. So it's just choose your pick, really. You know what we're going to do, how we're going to dress today.
You'd like to think that, with the wet weather, the hay fever wouldn't be a problem.
It seems it doesn't make any difference. I thought that the rain would catch the pollen and what happened. Nope.
Keep it down at least.
Yeah, nope. Not at all. And the thing also you can remember is that just because it's water soluble pen, it doesn't mean that you've got a water soluble all of your pen. You can put pen on top afterwards and leave it just as pen. You don't have to add water. Hillary does it. Good.
Has she guessed who it is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I know, Diana, I had honestly I had to have my first day off on Tuesday sick in 8 years because of a 24-hour virus that lasted almost 24 hours to the second, and it just took me off my feet. I have never felt so tired ever. I think because normally if I'm poorly I take a duvet on the settee and I'll watch film.
Yeah, exactly.
I managed to do that halfway through the day, but I was just totally off my feet. I had 5-10 minutes of consciousness back asleep. I slept for 12 hours on Tuesday, which is unheard of, but well, Jackie had it as well the week before. Yeah. So I do wear myself out, that's true.
The thing is, you can get something, and because you're already feeling
Yeah.
a bit low.
Yeah, it felt very much like food poisoning without it being food poisoning, which is really bizarre. It's unusual for me to be ill, and I hate being ill, and I hate cancelling classes, because being self-employed, it's kind of essential that I don't cancel classes.
But you're only human.
I'm not human, Jane. I am Superman. Oh, we've missed you, Jenny. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of COVID about. One of our students is off with COVID at the moment, and a lot of people that have gone away on cruises apparently have. So if you're going away, please look after yourselves.
Is it a new sort or?
No, I think it's the same one. It's just in confined places. We've all dropped our guard a little bit, haven't
I
we?
think so.
But it seems to be just affecting people in a bad cold, bad flu way, the majority. So, you know, that's kind of what you can hope for, isn't it? Because we can't get rid of it.
Well, no.
Well, perhaps that's all it is. Because
It will just,
in any case,
yeah.
because although we keep saying COVID, before this all happened, it was called COVID because when Smith and Nephew doing their potions, it said on the packet before it was COVID.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes, it's not brand new.
Just suddenly come out of nowhere.
No. Well, the Spanish flu was a different form of it, wasn't it, when we had that? So I'm trying to go quite dark with the jacket.
Oh, this is really annoying me now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
It might.
Somebody and I
It
just
might
cannot.
come.
Might come. I keep thinking who it
I
might
don't-
be.
Superman
You're
has
cheating,
tights,
so you're
yes.
going
I
online.
do.
No, I just
And
keep- I
wears
keep
his
getting
underpants
names.
over his trousers. Well, not always. Only on Fridays. Right.
What is that you she's talking about?
Yeah.
Huh?
Being Superman. Right, we've got a bit of hair, but it's grey and... No, it's not English.
It's American.
Questions.
American-ish.
Oh,
You're not
one of
being-
these people that
you're
gone
not
from
being
London
very
to Hollywood.
helpful.
Sort of German.
It might
No.
come in later.
The eyes, it just reminded me of and I can't.
He had a moustache very briefly a few years ago.
It's not helping, Barry.
And okay, the biggest thing I can tell you, if it looks like him, which I've probably not picked a good photograph, plus doing it in pen and wash, is that he's recently no longer with us.
That's most of the people you do portraits of, Barry. That's not
Well, I
helping
have to. I
either.
can't take the risk, can I?
Was he in one of these soaps?
No, not a soap actor.
He's not an ex-doctor.
No, known more for music. And recently did lots of duets.
Oh, I know. Think.
Go on, who do you think?
Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett.
Yes.
An
Has
old
he just
Tony.
died recently?
Yeah.
I knew his eyes from somewhere.
He's got very specific eyes, I
Yes.
think. Right, what's
Liz
the time?
would
It's
have got
20
it,
past.
wouldn't she?
Liz would have got it. Liz would definitely have got it.
We'll look for the black top at the end.
I've found it.
Did he do some acting then?
I don't know. Usually they all did, didn't they,
Yeah,
back
they
then?
would go.
Little bits and
Yeah, that's all right.
what have you. Tony Bennett. Yes. Well, it may not look that much like Tony Bennett, but we'll see. So I'm going to add a bit of water. What I could do at this point is, if the ink is dry, I can then erase my pencil lines, because you don't get the chance to do that when you've got paint on it. So if I'll erase the pencil lines, I'm going to use my big mop brush that you've seen me use a lot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the lighter areas so I can gradually increase the dark. So I know he's got his hairline here, and I can pick up a little bit of it and just tint it.
Is that just water?
Just water. And it won't get rid of the pen. So the pen lines stay. Which is why it's important to kind of work with them rather than against them. And then if I wet his cheek, and then I can pick up some of the ink that outlines him. Grab the ink.
It's
Clever, isn't it?
like those magic colouring books.
It is like those. It is like those magic colouring books. You do have to work a little bit quickly, and if you do work quickly, there's often a chance that you can lift out, if you needed to, the colour, like you can in watercolour. If you've got like a slightly harder brush or a smaller bristle brush, you can lift out. But I do realise when I set myself these challenges, why often. Oh, that's fine, Marilyn. Pen is just a water soluble pen. It's just an blue acorn fine liner. It's a British band. I have to say British band because I realise we've got a lot of followers from all over the world now. So you might not have it, but any sort of handwriting pen will work. So you can see I can pick up the ink and then it starts to add shadow. But what's really exciting is if I wanted to, I will be doing his eyes, so don't worry about that. I can use the darker ink as a palette. So on other images that we've done in the past, we've picked up the dark ink and transferred it onto other areas to give us that idea that we've got 3D stuff happening. So I can't do it on here, but I could go into this. If I'd got distant misty trees, I don't need to draw the trees because I could go into the dark ink with a wet brush and then paint them and it'll be a pale grey. I'm going to have to do his eyes because they're frustrating. I don't like them being white. I've not got a lot of water on my brush, just a little bit, and I've gone with a finer brush because he had beautifully blue-grey eyes, Tony Bennett. And I'll put the pen back on when I want to do the pupils. So I can just dampen the underside of the line of the eye to give me a bit of shading for the white of the eye, because this one's all dark. Very often the whites of the eyes aren't as dark as we think. He should have more wrinkles. Well, I think he had a bit of work done, to be honest. He did in this picture.
So his iris is grey?
Yes, yeah. Sort of bluey grey rather than a brown or anything like that. But it's really nice that I can come back and add depth if I needed to. Like with his shirt here, I could actually pick up a bit of that and move it across to create shadow.
Use it as your palette.
Yeah, use it exactly like a palette. It's such a really interesting technique. So I could bring it on here if I wanted to add more fine detail and stuff. Botox, yeah. What brush am I using for the eyes? This one, Wendy, is a #1 miniature painting brush by ProArty. They come in a load of different sizes. The #1 tends to be my favourite, but it's got a triangular handle and it's so lovely to hold, whereas some detail brushes, they're hard to grip because the ferrule is tiny, the handle is tiny, everything's tiny. So these work really well. Trying to do a portrait in 45 minutes is daft by anybody's standards, but trying to do it in pen and wash live on a multiple platform, sometimes I do have to question myself, you know. But you can see there, look, I picked some of the jacket up so I can create extra tone. Tone. It's early. It's early in the morning. What can I say?
I bet nobody called him Tony. He doesn't look like a Tony.
Tone, no, Tony, because he had such a lovely relationship with Lady Gaga. The way that they sang, and as he got dementia as he was older, she helped him on the stage. And I saw a bit of a documentary where as he got on the stage, he was like, what am I singing?
Yeah.
And then as soon as he heard the song, knew all the words.
It's lovely.
but I saw such a tender side to Lady Gaga in the documentary. You can see here how some of it's gone purple. The more intense stuff has gone purple, and the lighter stuff has gone a sort of bluey, greeny grey. So the hardest part is reserving the lights. He did sing with Amy Winehouse. He did an album, didn't he, a couple of years ago, where he did duets with modern singers, which is really quite nice.
Tom Jones did a similar thing, didn't he?
Yes, because there was one about nearly 10 years ago. George Martin, who wrote for the Beatles, did an album where they had Beatles songs sung by celebrities, so like Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, Sean Connery. Sean Connery sang "In My Life," but when I say sang, it was like, "There are many things in my life and times. In my life, I loved you more." It's quite nice actually. But yeah, I think Robin Williams did "I Am the Walrus." Quite a manic song which suited him, and Jim Carrey did something similar. It was just really and Goldie Hawn sang "It's Been a Hard Day's Night" because she can sing, Goldie Hawn, and she did it like club style. It's been a hard day's night, you know, that kind of thing. It was lovely.
There was that comedy act that used to do that. They used to do like club singers, and they used to do pick a song and just do it in the style of a club singer.
It wasn't Reeves and Mortimer, was it? Where it was like zip yip 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 yip. Yeah, Jodie Lawrence did it.
She did it as part of that. What's that program called with Josie Lawrence and the Canadians?
Whose line is it anyway?
They did a live show in Edinburgh. It's fantastic.
She is amazing at ad lib, but I think it was Reeves and Mortimer because he'd sing it and he'd just go yeah, I know that. Right, so if you want it to spread before you add the ink, wet the lighter paper area first. Then when you add the ink, you get much more subtle blends. A bit like with watercolour, to be honest. Just the same with watercolour. You can see there it's much, much darker. I'll try and reserve a little bit of light on there, and then we can go into the real dark areas. I don't sing any Tony Bennett songs. I have got the backing track for I Left My Heart in San Francisco, but I haven't really sung it. I haven't learned it yet.
What are you singing this afternoon?
This evening they want more gentlish songs, more Sinatra and jazzy. I will do I Left My Heart, once I've learned it. Once I've learned it, I will add it. But I'm in Metheringham, RAF Metheringham. They're celebrating 80 years since they've been a discontinued RAF place, and it's a visitor centre now. So I'm there in 2 weeks' time on a Sunday singing for them. But I'm also with Miss Lily Lovejoy, good friend of mine, and I've found out some of the Gaga and Bennett duets because a lot of them are from the 40s. So if we can learn them, then we might do some of those. I think that's quite solid now, isn't it? And then I can pick up that grey, because what you don't want to do is leave too much white, because when you're doing skin tone, you do have to be careful.
It looks unfinished if you leave too much.
It does. And you know, when I was a student, my art teacher, because I used to do a lot of portrait drawing, he used to tell me off all the time for making the faces just with no tone. And obviously I was a teenager, so I thought I knew it all. What could he tell me? But now I can totally see why, because I say to you in class, you need to go darker. You need to go darker. So I'm going to add more pen when that dries, just so I can add a bit of detail. Now, that has got to be slightly darker. So we'll darken that just by picking up the ink. Leave a little bit of white there. I haven't wetted down here, but I'm going to do a little bit of hatching. So don't forget, once you've actually got damp paper, don't put the pen on it.
Well, expand.
It won't do anything. I will show you actually. I'll just dampen that bit there. I'll let it, it's a bit wet. Oh gosh, it's drying quite quickly. I thought it was cold this morning, so I thought I won't put the blowers on in here because it's cold. And it's actually quite muggy in here. We do sell these pens. I'm not sure if we've got them online at the moment. I'll try and add them later. But we have got some in stock. I think they're about £1-2. Oh gosh, that's dried. Let me go on there. Right, so if I put the pen, I'm going to go across like that. So I've got a bit of spread, and you might think, oh, that's really encouraging. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Whereas that one, although the ink's wet, will spread a little bit further. But the where it is. Do have a go, Carol, and post. I'll post this in the comments of the feed, the finished picture. And I absolutely love it when you all have a go and you post what you've done. I do look at them all. I don't always get a chance to look at them straight away, but I do. I really enjoy seeing what you've all done. So we'll just wet that a little bit more just to give it a little bit of character. Incorporate that line in there somewhere. Oh, he's got a dark tie, hasn't he? So try different types of paper. Even different types of watercolour paper will give you different effects. Some paper will totally obliterate the ink, so you won't get any lines. However, because you don't know until you do it, it's sometimes best to just put the direction of the ink in the right place, just in case it doesn't get rid of all of the lines. Like it hasn't on here. You can see every pen line that I've done. So you could, in theory, wing it and just go straight with the pen without drawing it first. But A, you can't correct it. The other issue that you may find, I'm just going to let that dry a little bit, is that if you were then thinking, oh, I'll use gel pen, white gel pen or white gouache to go over the top, it will work a little, but because it's moisture based, water based, the gel pen and the gouache, it picks up the black ink, so it doesn't go pure white, it just goes lighter. But you know, in itself is fine. I need to darken his teeth a little bit. So what I do, and Rosemary says that Rosemary dislikes doing things like figures and stuff, but she finds things work better in pen and wash, and I have to agree. So what I've got, I will just go over some darker areas again in the pen, or if you've got a scrap or back piece of watercolour paper, you could scribble on the back of some old paper and use that as a palette to lift off. So I can then go into some of that and I can reactivate it, and I can just push his teeth back a little bit more so they don't stand out too much. I can darken his lips. Let's do his iris, his pupils. There. Reline some of his eyes. He's got eyebrows to put on. They make a massive difference, adding eyebrows. We actually did a portrait in one of the classes. Who did we do? Played Jean-Luc Picard. What's his name? Famous English actor. Patrick Stewart. We did Patrick Stewart, and I gave it to Roger, who's a massive Patrick Stewart fan. So this pen I'm not planning on doing anything with, but I'm just letting it just be a pen. But it's such a lovely, it's a gentle technique. I am aware I am making it look easier than it possibly is if you've never done it before. But that kind of is my job. I have to make everything look accessible and easy. But to be honest, if it was hard, I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't be able to do it in 45 minutes, would I? Even with the best skill in the world. However, it does all hinge on your drawing. So you may find trace it. If in doubt, trace it until you get the hang of it, because you don't want to. If your drawing is wrong, your pen work will be wrong. Yeah, when I went on holiday, I was going to do some painting. But when I got ready to get my stuff out, wasn't there. Turned out, left my art in San Francisco. I left my art in San Francisco. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
What I think is interesting is now the rounded shapes, the roundedness of the cheek there, the very
Yes, I mean that's the shading that's worked. I think let me turn my light off and see if that it really works. And I can add more pen. It is. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, I was thinking for me that's be difficult because I can, although my drawing's improved, I think shading with a wash would be really difficult.
It is, and to be honest, the photograph I've picked to work from, it is actually in black and white, so that's possibly helping me to try and get that dark. But you could always pop it in. You could transfer the image into black and white just to get a black and white photocopy of it, because it might help you see it a little bit easier with pen. If you've never used it before, it does make a difference. You see, the hair is lighter. Let me pick up some of my palette here, and then if I darken his ear, that should bring his hair forward a little bit. And because I'm using watercolour paper, it just works better. You can use cartridge paper, and you can do dry brush technique on it like watercolour, but you do have to be a bit careful. Let me scribble a little bit more here. So if I use a dampish brush, pick up some ink. See, I can do dry brush method because there's not a lot of ink on there.
I mean, not a lot of water.
There's not a lot of ink, and there's not a lot of water, and there's not a lot of moisture anywhere. Oh, thank you, Denise. Hello, Patricia. Sorry you're late. I'm just about to finish. But thank you for coming. It's lovely to see you. Let's just darken a few more little bits here. How many are you? 33 of you. It must be. There mustn't be anything on telly, or it must be raining. It's lovely to have you with me. I honestly wasn't sure, with it being the summer holidays and with it being awful weather.
It traps people inside.
Yeah, absolutely. Mind you, I don't know what I'd be. If I wasn't at work today, what would I be doing? Don't know.
Sleeping.
Maybe sleeping, but I'd more than likely be working on some laundry and cleaning, but also working on. I'm trying to streamline all my singing stuff, and I've found that I've now put all of my backing tracks on iTunes, and because I've got a new iPhone with a big memory, I can download all of my backing tracks onto iTunes. And I found you can add lyrics to the iTunes, so it shows up on my phone, so I won't need my big heavy books. Especially in weather like this, because at the coronation I got absolutely drenched, and my lyric books just awful. So all I need to know is if I can actually read the writing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. Thank you for joining me, everyone. It's been really nice. So, are you all going to have a go at this? Are you going to give it a go?
I'd like to.
There's something special.
I might go as well.
There's something special with pen and wash. I don't know what it is, but I'll show you. What's the time? It is 45. I've got a gel pen here, have I? Is it one that actually works?
So when people tune into you,
Yes.
are you able to get a fee from the?
It's free.
Well,
No, I meant from the company.
like from YouTube, not at the moment, but soon potentially, and Facebook soon. I have to do so many things. I can monetize our 1-minute videos, but I have to do so many lives in so much time period in order to allow me to have an advert in transparent on the top or something to earn money from. So it's all about building it up. But if we are getting there, absolutely. If I just put that white blob, he's going to look like Mr. What's his name? Hello, how are you, Mr. Tumble? But just so you can see what the white ink doesn't stay as white. The camera's going to make it look whiter. But these pens are brilliant. But honestly, try any handwriting pen that you want to give a go with, and you'll see a huge difference just by wetting it. But try different papers. I have to say the cotton rag tends to hold the paint more than non-cotton. I don't know if I've got non-cotton knocking about.
What's our drawing paper? Is that cartridge?
Cartridge, and I'm not sure now. I think that's cotton. It's hard to tell on the backs. I'd have to find a really old one. But some liner paper and what have you could, some cartridge paper might be fine for it. But you need to make sure it's heavier to allow for the water, otherwise you'll go straight through. So if I'd put too much water and shaded all of his hair, I could use a bit of white gouache or something on top, but I think we'll leave. Oh, that's too white. I need.
Stop fiddling.
No, I'm going to say, don't do anymore.
That's too white. I'll stop. Look. I'm putting these away. Look, I'll put them away. The next demo, what are we looking at now? September. What?
Yeah, and I'll be working.
Oh, blimey. September will be the Saturday. Oh, in gouache. 2nd of September, an autumn tree in sunlight in gouache.
And I think I may not be able to come, but I would like to buy that picture off you when you've done
This
it.
one.
So don't
The tree.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Don't sell it.
I won't. I will put it aside. Thank you, everyone. Oh, thank you. It's been really lovely. Yes, this is dandruff on here.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's dandruff. But it will help if you needed to. If you put too much. If you needed to add a little bit more highlight, as long as the ink is dry, because the other issue is if the ink is wet, you'll ruin your gel pen, because the water will go in there. So thank you very much. Take care. Have a really good weekend, whatever it is. Please stay dry and think of me this evening singing in the garden party. Hopefully, I've been told that there's a marquee, so let's hope it's also got sides, and it'll be fun. So take care. Have a really good week, and I'm sure I'll see you. We are going to be posting a reel a day on Facebook if I can think of things, yeah, just keep up to time. Just keep in touch, and if you do this,
Spanish artists.
if you do this, do let me see what you've done, because I'd love to see. It may not be 10 minutes, but just have a play with pen and wash and see what you go. So take care. See you soon. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.